Welcome to Kate's Caring Corner. Hi, I'm Kate. Please join me as I prepare a
Kate's Caring Corner.
120-year-old
Please
tradition
join me
in
for
my
a
family. 120-year tradition in my family. Here I am cleaning some strawberries with some baking soda and filtered water, and I'm just going to toss that around in the water for a little bit and then let it sit a little bit for about 5 or 10 minutes before I remove them to a colander. These strawberries I'm making are for strawberry shortcake. In our family, July 7th is Strawberry Shortcake Day. Here I am hulling the strawberries, and some of these strawberries are rather passé, but they're not going to go to waste. I'm going to just toss them into the jar with the strawberry tops, which I am not being very careful in just getting the green of the strawberry. I'm taking some of the squishy tops as well, and to the chunk of strawberry below it, because they are going to be extremely sweet. And in that jar, I'm going to be making some strawberry syrup. This strawberry is big and does not look like a hawk sitting on the nest. I'm just going to cut this baby in half. It looks like a double strawberry to me. And I'm going to put it in there. It's going to have beautiful juice come out of it. So we'll dump these strawberries into a bigger bowl that will be easier to mix in with some organic cane sugar, which I dumped from this quart jar very carefully. And 2, I will add some sugar to the hulls of the strawberries, to which I will muddle to bring out some more juice, as well as the strawberries will give them a good muddle as well. My grandmother always used a potato masher to mash her strawberries, but my muddle seemed to have been handier for the quart jars that held the hulls, so I just continue to use those with the strawberries as well. And I mixed the sugar into the strawberries a little bit before I took the muddle to the bowl of strawberries. And before I finish muddling and mixing these strawberries, I'm just going to add a little bit of vanilla that just happened to have been decanted on July 7th of last year on Grandpa's birthday. So I thought that was apropos to add that into the strawberries as I was muddling them. On Grandpa's birthday, Aunt Jane and Grammy would go out to the local strawberry field and pick strawberries that they would come home and prepare like this for when we would come later that day. Grammy would bake off her secret recipe of biscuits to make the strawberry shortcake, and she'd whip fresh whipping cream with vanilla in it and powdered sugar. And then when we all gathered around and we all had bowls of sweet strawberry shortcake with whipped cream and homemade biscuits, Grandpa would bring a throw pillow out from the couch in the living room and stand on his head until his 70th birthday. When he turned 70, he refused to stand on his head. He said it was making him lose too much hair. Well, I never knew Grandpa with hair on his head, so there was a hidden reason that he wasn't willing to share with the family. If you've been with me before, you know I love Marjorie Standish, and this is the biscuit recipe that I'm following for Marjorie Standish. This is not the recipe that Grammy would use. Grammy used a biscuit mix, and she just whipped them up with the directions on the back of the Bisquick box. I don't use Bisquick, and I don't have a homemade Bisquick mix. I just don't do mixes, either homemade or otherwise, because I would rather just do the whole thing at once. My grandfather was a very quiet, strong man, very intelligent. I believe that it is because of my father's parents, Grammy and Grandpa, that I get my love of gardening and cooking. All four of my grandparents were from farming people, but Nana and Papa were very well adapted to the city, although Nana loved to cook. She and Grammy cooked differently. Nana would do shortcuts. Grammy would go by the book and add her own enhancements she never took away. And I tend to cook more like Grammy than my Nana, although sometimes I do get a little bit Nana-fied and do some things the way she did. Both my Grammy and my Aunt Ronnie, my mother's aunt, would say the best way to make biscuits is don't touch it. You don't handle biscuits very much because that will activate the gluten and warm up the shortening or the butter, and you don't want to do that because it will make a tough biscuit. And I add a little bit of cinnamon to my biscuits when they're for dessert, just to add a little extra flavor. And sometimes I add sugar. I don't believe I put sugar in this, but I should have, because as I overworked the flour, they were not only dry, but they were not sweet. Grandpa worked in the shipyard during World War II, and he had very strong hands from working in the shipyard, and he would do odd jobs through the Depression and the war. And I remember my father saying when he was growing up, people would say, "Is your father working?" Because the shipyard was either feast or famine. When they needed a ship, it was all hands on deck, and when they didn't, some were put on hold, and that's when Grandpa would pick up odd jobs. When it came to gardening, Grandpa had no off season. As Christmas and New Year's was winding down, Grandpa was reading his gardening books and planning and plotting out his garden. By the end of January, he knew not only what was going into his garden, but what they would look like and where they would go. And he had it all drawn out in a graph at the living room table, and he would then choose his seeds from Johnny's Seeds in Maine, and they would go get the seeds that they didn't have. And then Grammy and Grandpa would put out their seeds, and you'd go and visit them, and there'd be seedlings growing through February, March, and then in April, Grandpa would sow his garden to prepare it for the coming season. Now, it was about here when I was cleaning up for preparing, and I was pretty proud of the fact that I didn't use that little bit of milk that I could use on the biscuits when they were prepared to go into the oven. And I realized that I don't remember putting in the baking powder. So instead of throwing out this batch, I just tossed in the 4 teaspoons of baking powder and kneaded it in. Now, you don't want to handle biscuit dough. So these 4 teaspoons of baking powder that had to get into the dough, I kneaded my dough. You don't want to do that. That will make your dough hot. And so I kneaded it, and that's one of the reasons why my biscuits were dry, and they were edible, but they just weren't the kind of biscuits that I would have wanted for Grandpa. In my trauma of the baking powder fiasco, I neglected to turn my camera, so I did put them out on the board, and I cut them in half and layered them several times, then cut them out and popped them into the toaster oven with a second batch that I made sure I put some powder in. And I brushed them with milk and topped them with sprinkled sugar, and they came out all 12 looking fabulous. And my strawberries, in the time it took to make the biscuits, were emitting a juice, as well as my hulled strawberries emitting juice. And these went into the refrigerator before we left for my aunt's, and we all had beautiful strawberry shortcake. Aunt Jane did not want to be in the video, and that's fine. I wouldn't want to adhere to anybody who didn't want to be in my videos. So please like, share, and comment on my video, and for all you do, may you be as blessed as you are a blessing to others. Thanks for joining.